The station that hung above Mars shuddered. Plates of armor peeled away like a serpent shedding its skin. Beneath the ruined facade gleamed pristine alloy untouched by time. Antennae extended, aligned to unseen constellations, and the station's shadow fell wide upon the red planet below. Then came the soundless roar. Reactors long thought extinct surged alive, spilling waves of radiation that made the Veil scouts recoil in fear. Their sensors burned with impossible readings. The station was not decaying. It was stronger than any modern fortress. Moments later, other stations followed. Rings of ruins flickered to life. Their hidden cores awakened. Their signals sang across the void. And then the ships came. The graveyard breathes. From the wrecks scattered in Sol's orbit, hulls began to stir. Vessels that had floated for centuries, their surfaces pitted and scarred by micrometeors, split open. Old plating fell away like the shells of ancient beasts. What remained beneath was terrifying. Warships. Colossal dreadnoughts, frigates, carriers, entire fleets once thought lost, revealed themselves in silence. Their engines ignited one by one, throwing fire into the dark. The void blazed with Terran light. And every ship moved as if no time had passed. Maneuvers flawless. Systems perfectly synchronized. A fleet that had waited in slumber, obeying orders written long ago, yet still binding now. The galaxy watched in horror as the graveyard of Earth revealed itself as an arsenal, untouched, prepared, unbroken. The storm unleashed. The Veil scouts panicked. They fired warning shots into the void, their weapons flaring against the blackness. The Terran fleet did not return fire. Instead, it maneuvered with terrifying elegance, encircling the scouts without a word. It was no graveyard, it was a trap. Within seconds, the Veil ships found themselves pinned in targeting grids far older than their empire itself. Thousands of warheads locked, energy cannons charged. The scouts fled, but not all escaped. One ship was caught in the shadow of a Terran dreadnought. The old warship did not fire, it simply extended its shields. The Veil vessel disintegrated on impact, like a gnat against stone. Word spread like wildfire. Across the galaxy, fleets scrambled. The Threxan claimed Sol was cursed. The Drael argued that humanity had engineered some form of autonomous preservation. Others whispered that the humans themselves still lived, hidden, waiting. But one truth drowned out the speculation. Those ships were real, and they were moving. The horror of readiness. No one had expected this. Warships 1,000 years old should have been relics, obsolete, outclassed by modern technology. But the Terran fleet was different. Their weapons alien in design, brutal in efficiency, cut through simulations with terrifying advantage. Their armor absorbed firepower unthinkable to other empires. Their coordination, guided by codes older than the galaxy's current wars, outmaneuvered everything the empires threw at them. And their numbers kept growing. Every day more ruins awakened. Moons cracked open to reveal hidden bays. Asteroids split to show shipyards buried inside. The Sol system transformed from a dead zone into a fortress beyond comprehension. The galaxy realized with dawning fear, humanity had not died. Humanity had planted seeds. The whisper of dread. What terrified the empires most was not simply the power of the fleet. It was the intent. The Terran ships did not attack. They did not invade. They merely awakened, aligned, and patrolled the borders of Sol with silent precision. They broadcast no messages, save for a single repeating code: stand by. The message spread beyond the fleets, beyond the stations, across the galaxy itself. Stand by. No one knew if it was a warning, a threat, or a promise. The final realization. Among the alien councils, silence reigned. For centuries they had laughed at the ruins of Earth. They had mocked the silence of Saul. They had treated humanity as dust on the wind. Now they realized the truth. Humans were never gone. They had not been destroyed by war, nor erased by time. They had built their greatest weapon in plain sight, the illusion of their own extinction. And when the galaxy forgot them, when their enemies grew complacent, when the stars believed them weak, the ruins stirred. What the galaxy once called a graveyard was in truth a vault, a storm hidden in shadow, a warning to all who thought themselves eternal. The whisper spread across empires, from the highest councils to the lowest smugglers. If this is what humanity left behind as ruins, what do they still keep hidden? Closing echo. The galaxy looked upon the Sol system with newfound dread. It was no longer a forgotten wasteland. It was a wound glowing with fire, a promise that humanity would rise not once, but as many times as it chose. Because humans did not just build fleets. They preserved storms. They hid armadas in silence. They turned ruins into weapons. And somewhere, deep in the vaults of stars, 1,000 more graveyards might still be waiting. Silent, patient, eternal. The galaxy had long declared humanity extinct. To most archives, Earth was a half-forgotten footnote, a backwater world that rose too quickly, burned too fiercely, and then collapsed into silence. The historians of the Saracen Dominion described them as a brief spark in the void. The Veil scholars called them the warlike primates who exhausted themselves. The Tane Confederacy barely mentioned them at all, recording only that Earth had gone dark centuries ago, its colonies unresponsive, its signals dead. Generations had passed without a whisper from the Terrans. To the young species of the stars, humanity was a ghost. Their ruins, rusted stations, cracked moons, hollowed cities, were nothing more than curiosities. Scavengers picked at the bones of their once mighty frontier, selling fragments of human steel as trinkets. Legends of their feral fleets became bedtime stories told to scare hatchlings. To the galaxy, the judgment was final. Humanity had risen and fallen. They were gone. The first flicker in the dark. It began with a signal, a faint, distorted ping caught by the listening posts of the Kalar Union. At first it was dismissed as nothing, radio leakage from old debris, background static mistaken for language. But then another came, and another, rhythmic, ordered. The Kalar archivists scoured their records. The pattern matched no known empire, no living tongue. But buried deep within forgotten vaults, one scholar whispered a dangerous word, Terran. Others scoffed. Terran? Impossible. Earth had been silent for 400 years. The signals must be decay echoes, automated beacons still running on ancient programming, ghosts of machinery that had long since died. Curiosity grew and fleets were dispatched to the coordinates. There at the edge of an unremarkable system they found it, a massive orbital husk. At first glance it was derelict, broken, the carcass of a shipyard long abandoned. Towers jutted like shattered teeth into the void, skeletal frames drifting in silence. The Kalar captains laughed. This was no threat, only ruins. But the signals continued, stronger now, clearer, like a heartbeat. The graveyard that was. Explorers approached, sending drones into the skeletal maze. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. The supposed wreckage was not random debris. It was symmetrical, structured, deliberate. Massive hangars lay sealed, their doors scarred but intact. Rows of titanic hulls floated in perfect alignment, their armored skins dulled by dust yet unmarred by age. "These are relics," the Kaler insisted, "broken toys of a lost species." But their drones reported otherwise. Power signatures hummed faintly inside the hulks. Shield matrices flickered for a fraction of a second, then died again. And in the black of those silent hangars, lights blinked, slow, steady, deliberate. A warning. Some captains ordered retreat. Others pressed closer, eager for salvage. They cracked into one of the vessels, cutting through its hull. The boarding teams reported labyrinthine corridors, walls lined with sealed compartments. Symbols in ancient Terran script still glowed on consoles. And deeper inside, they found something that made their voices tremble. Reactors, not cold but dormant, their cores slumbering like the embers of a buried fire. Then the doors sealed shut. The boarding crews screamed. Their signals cut, and the graveyard began to wake. When the dead opened their eyes, the first sound was felt, not heard, a vibration through the void so deep it rattled sensors across the system. One by one, the hulks ignited. Engines that had slept for centuries burned white with fury. Hangar doors groaned open, spilling forth ships that were supposed to be corpses. The Kaler fleet panicked. They fired warnings, then volleys of plasma, but the ruins did not shatter. They moved. With terrifying precision, the Terran warships formed ranks. Their hulls bore scars of ancient wars, yet their systems recognized every command as if no time had passed. Alien ships scrambled. They tried to retreat, but the void was already shifting. Terran targeting systems came online, their codes still valid, still sharp. And then, the galaxy remembered what it had chosen to forget. The first volley was not reckless, not wild. It was surgical. Human cruisers cut through Kaler destroyers with weapons long thought obsolete, yet still beyond the efficiency of modern empires. Rail slugs tore through shields. Pulse cannons lanced across the dark. Ships that had laughed at ruins became fireballs in the silence. The graveyard was not dead. It was an arsenal, a fleet in waiting.